Hi everyone, I'm Nicole Guillaume with Guiding Echoes, the channel that is devoted to your spiritual and personal growth. And in this video, we are going to talk about how you can determine if you are on the right spiritual path for you. Now, this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I know how it feels to live under religious oppression. You see, when I was a young child, I had very strict, controlling Christian parents. I was not allowed to question the Bible, I was not allowed to question God's existence, and my parents made it very clear to me that any spiritual or religious beliefs that did not coincide with the Bible were in fact of Satan. And my parents very much believed in hell and the threat of hell, and so that was something that was over my head as a young child as well. So, growing up, I did have an interest in psychic things. I did have an interest in witchcraft and all of these different spiritual belief systems. And then as I got older, I was drawn to Buddhism and Hinduism and even Judaism. I really started looking at this smorgasbord of religious cultures and beliefs from all around the world. And so, as I was older, the fear of hell and the fear of being wrong had been interwoven so tightly in me that I was afraid to step outside of Christianity. And one day, it was like this light bulb just kind of went off in my head, and I realized it was safe to investigate these things. I realized that Christianity didn't resonate with me anymore, so it didn't make sense for me to stay in a religious field that I no longer agreed with, that just kind of seemed to have ran its course. And as I began to forge my own spiritual path, I did run into some challenges. I did run into those situations where I had to ask myself, do I really believe this? And if not, how do I incorporate the rest of the spiritual beliefs that I've been attuned to? And so, what's wonderful about forging your own spiritual path is that you're giving yourself permission to seek answers. You don't have to turn to one religion or one book. You can really just kind of dive into anything that interests you. And so, we're going to talk about that a little bit more today. So, with that, let's go ahead and dive into different indications that you are on the right spiritual path. So, the very first one is that it resonates with you. Right? Whatever spiritual belief system you have adopted or that you're adopting or you're looking into, there's something about it that speaks to your heart. Now, as I already told you, I grew up in a Christian environment, but as I grew older, as I became an adult, I had to come to terms with the fact that I didn't believe in a lot of the cornerstones of Christianity. For one, I couldn't wrap my mind around the fact that a loving God would send people to hell if they didn't believe in Jesus Christ, especially if it was near impossible for every person who's ever walked the planet to have ever heard of Jesus Christ, because that's a very Western cultural belief system. I also didn't believe that God was sitting there condemning homosexual people. I didn't believe that saying happy holidays instead of Merry Christmas was some type of war on Christians. So there were all these belief systems that were cornerstone to the faith recorded within the Bible. But then, of course, there were other belief systems that expanded outside of the Bible into what could be considered our cultural social structure within the church that I didn't agree with either. And so as I continued to read my Bible and listen to the terminologies that were spoken around me and the different belief systems, I had to come to a point where I realized it no longer resonated with me. In fact, I'm not sure if it ever really did. So there are parts of the Bible and there are keystones of Christianity that I admire, that I actually really enjoy and that I love. But there are other parts which to me serve as huge red flags. And so this is nothing against Christians. If Christianity is something that resonates with you, then good. That's actually an indication that you're on the right path. I'm just using this as an example so you can kind of see where I'm coming from. So again, the first signal that you're on the right spiritual path is that it resonates with you, right? It vibes with you. You totally get where it's coming from. Number 2 on the list is that it makes you a better person. Now, this is a really interesting one to look at because you may have noticed that there are bad seeds in every religion. There are bad people in every religion. And it all has to do with how they are perceiving, how they are interpreting the messages delivered from that belief system. So one person could be Muslim and could seem very self-absorbed, very argumentative, very confrontational, and they'll have scriptures to back up why they are that way. On the flip side, you'll have another Muslim who is very peaceful, who's overall very agreeable, very kind, very compassionate. I used to know this one Muslim woman, and she was always cooking, and she was always delivering food, or I should say giving food, to her neighbors because she was cooking so much. And it was like she could never give us enough food. She could never give us enough love. She could never give enough compliments. And she was such a sweet, caring, and adorable woman. And so here you have two people in the same religion, but acting out in completely different ways. And so your spiritual belief system should be one that makes you more like the second person. It's something that jives with you. It's something that encourages you to be a better person. Because when you look at all different spiritual belief systems, kindness, love, compassion are really at the core of them. And so you want to be sure that you are in a belief system that is nurturing and fostering that side of you. Number 3 is that it gives you strength and not just the illusion of it. So when we talk about strength, we're talking about the courage, the persistence, the perseverance required to get through those difficult points in life, right? And when we talk about those challenges in life, oh my gosh, that's like a whole spectrum in itself, isn't it? Because when it comes to the challenges we face in life, there's so many of them. We face money issues, we face sickness, we face relationship issues, we sometimes face persecution just from being different from everyone else. There's racism, there is religious discrimination. I think at some point in our lives, we've all experienced some of this, on one point or another, on one level or another, some being very mild, some being very significant. But our spiritual belief systems will help us to get through that. When we also talk about true strength and not the illusion of it, we're talking about something deeper than just this feeling of, I know I'm going to get through that. I know that this is going to work out. Those are feelings of hope and faith, and those are fantastic. But the truth is, sometimes when we have hope, things don't work out. When we have faith, they don't work out. And there's a million different contributing factors as to why that could be. But true strength allows you to get through those hardships, even if you fail, but to get back up anyway. It's not a belief system that is going to hold punishment over your head. So if something doesn't work out the way that you hoped, you don't have this belief system that says, the universe must be punishing me, God must be mad at me, there must be something I did terrible in a karmic life to deserve this. And really, these are all egoic comments. These are all comments that our ego tells us because it's our ego that punishes us. It's our mind that's trying to make sense of why things went so haywire. Because if we can find a reason as to why things went wrong, and we can play the victim in the meantime, we can steer clear of any responsibility that tells us that we need to take responsibility for our own actions. And so true strength is being able to also look at all of those different factors and ourselves and have the strength to see ourselves as we really are and say, this part of me sucked. This part of me failed. This part of me just didn't do good. I didn't live up to my own standards. I let myself down, but it's not the end of the game. I can make changes. I can do this. I can hold on to this scripture. I can hold on to that quote. And it gives you the momentum that you need to keep going. That, my friends, is strength. That is perseverance. And the other part of strength is that it helps you to see things as they are. It's that awareness that helps you to make those tough decisions because you see things as they really are. You see where things are going. And the reason I feel it's important to talk about the difference between true strength and the illusion of it is because time and time again, I see women who are in these abusive relationships, abusive marriages, and a lot of them are Christian because of the culture that I happen to live in. I'm just around a lot of Christians because in America, that's our most dominating belief system. And so a lot of times these women will have issues with their husbands. Their husbands will be emotionally manipulative, or they're unhealthy people who are projecting their shortcomings onto their wives. And these women turn to the Bible and they'll find a scripture and they hold on to it and they journal about it, they pray about it, and then they say, "Oh man, I feel so much better after that experience. I just really know God is here with me and God is helping me through this." And, in that moment, they feel very serene. They feel very good. They feel love towards their husbands, but really all they've done is change their brainwave patterns so that they can feel one way instead of another. Their husband is still abusive. Their husband is still manipulative. Their husband still is not their biggest cheerleader or their support team. And so what these women do is they constantly go back to the Bible to find their strength. They constantly go back to their journaling or their prayer system so that they can feel better about the situation, but really nothing's changed except for how they feel in that moment. Their husband's not changing, the situations aren't changing, and they could very well still be in a dangerous situation. And so it's really important to know the difference between strength and the emotional illusion of strength. True strength will get you through the hard times and will help you to make those difficult changes. The illusion of strength can keep you stuck in a place that you shouldn't be. Okay, so let's move on to number 4, which is simply, it works for you. Yeah, it works for you. It doesn't get any simpler than that, right? So, going to church and meeting with your spiritual community is a wonderful experience for you. When you feel as if you need answers, you can seek them through prayer or meditation or the official book that is associated with your spiritual belief system. But there is just something about it that works for you. And when it works for you, when it's a place where you can get true strength, joy, happiness, fulfillment, commitment, it just gives you that satisfaction of knowing that you're where you belong. So even in times of weakness, you still have a sort of peace about things. You still have a bit of contentment because your spiritual system just works for you. It gives you what it is that you need. 5 is that you can't imagine your life without it. And this isn't because you've been conditioned to this belief system since you were a child. It's because you have this true and sincere respect for it. You have this true feeling of belonging when you think about the religion or spiritual system that you've adopted. So it's giving you so much strength, so much hope. It is such a part of you that you can't imagine what it would be like without it, right? When I was a teenager and I was stuck in Christianity, I often thought about what life would be like if I was not a Christian. I wondered how it would feel if I was not afraid of hell and I was not afraid of upsetting God and I could walk out on my own and maybe play around with Wiccan, with New Age movements, with Hinduism and Buddhism, which are all things that I have, since then looked into. And so Christianity was not a spiritual belief system that I couldn't imagine my life without. It was a belief system that I wanted to get the hell away from. It just didn't work for me. It didn't resonate with me. And so when you find that spiritual belief system that works with you, that jives with you, that resonates with you, you really can't imagine what life would be like without it. It's almost as if you're married to it. It's like a partner that you can't live without. Number 6 is that it is experiential and personal. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say that you're reading the book A Course in Miracles and you get to a point where the words just seem to speak directly to your heart. It is as if time and space stand still and you and the divine are having this in-depth conversation. That is personal. That is an experience because it's when your soul truly becomes one with the energy of the words that you've just read. It's when you have those intense aha moments, like, I get it. So it's an experience that's personal to you, right? It gives you some type of enlightenment or insight that will maybe not help you in that exact moment, but later on you're going to hang on to those experiences and those words and be like, this is what that book was telling me about. This is how I can put this into practice. So it's an experience, it's personal. Another way to look at it, or another example, would be when you sit down for meditation. Maybe you're doing a guided meditation and you decide that you want to bring in an ascended master like Jesus Christ, or maybe you want to call in a god or goddess like Aphrodite or Hercules. I don't know. And so during this meditation, you're able to call in these different deities and you have that experience with them. You're able to see them, to talk with them. They speak back, they give you some words of wisdom, they help you through a problem. But there's something amazing that takes place there, and it is deeply personal. It's a wonderful emotional experience, and sometimes it's a physical experience too, because we will feel a transformation in our bodies too. Number 7 is that it gives you purpose, right? It gives you guidelines. It gives you meaning so that you can reach out for something bigger than yourself, so that you can be the part of a whole. And usually a good spiritual belief system is about helping us to make the world a better place. And I know that seems like a monumental task, and it is, but it doesn't seem quite so overwhelming when you're able to break it down and really tune in to that one area of life that you would like to enhance for other people, for other creatures. So for some people, they are very passionate about making sure that we all have fresh, clean water. So you have people who could be considered water activists. You have people who are very passionate about helping the homeless. So that's kind of their jive. That's what they're good at. And then you have people who are kind of guardians of the animal world, and they want to help protect certain species from going extinct. So we all have these different calls outside of ourselves that really call us to protect something or someone or a group of people, right? And it's why we have so many activists and so many philanthropists, and that's a good thing. So it doesn't really matter what belief system you find yourself in, so long as it is a system that makes sense to you and helps you to be a better person, gives you purpose. It's experiential, so you've had some type of experience that gave you those aha moments, something that changed your life. And again, it doesn't matter if it's even atheism, Islam, Christianity, or something that doesn't even exist. For those of you wondering what spiritual path I follow, well, I don't follow any one religion. I'm not a part of any organized spiritual belief system. I just kind of take a look at everything, and what resonates with me, what feels right to me, is what I go with. For example, one of my favorite creeds is a Wiccan creed, and it says, "Do as you will and harm none." Right? Do as you will and harm none. And that is something that I try to live my life by. And so far, I'd like to think I've been pretty successful. I may have moments, but who doesn't? And so I'd also like to encourage you to check out different spiritual communities in your area. If you're in a place or a city or town or whatever, where they are pretty open-minded towards different religions, and you maybe have a mosque and you have a Protestant church and a Catholic church, and maybe you have some pagan circles in that area, check them all out. Check them all out. It has been my experience that these people are usually very, very welcoming in these different communities. And if you have any questions about that belief system, the spiritual leaders there are always more than welcome to answer your questions. And if they don't have an answer to your question, they usually have some pretty good resources. So be adventurous. Go check out what's available to you and really get a feel for these different communities, and know that each one's going to be a little different. this is your first time watching one of my videos, I would like to welcome you to the Guiding Echoes community, and I'd also like to invite you to subscribe to this channel. It is here on the Guiding Echoes channel that we're not afraid to ask those hard questions, and we want to dive right into the truth of the matter. We're a group of misfits, outcasts, and spiritual seekers, and if you feel like you fit in with one of those categories, we'd love to have you here, so be sure that you hit that subscribe button. Also, I'd like to thank all of my Patreons out there. It's because of you that I'm able to keep these videos going, and it is really through the financial support of all of you that I am able to continue to run this business, to, put out these videos, run the Facebook page, and do all of those things that really do take a lot of time and energy behind the scenes. And so if you would like to be a part of that, please visit patreon.com/Nicole so that you can learn how you can support this channel. And last but not least, if you'd like to learn more about me, you can visit my website at guidingechoes.com. That's also a website that I use to offer intuitive one-on-one sessions with people just like you. So if you're going through a difficult transition right now, or if you have a loved one who has passed and you'd like to make a connection with them, please visit my website and look into scheduling a one-on-one session with me. I offer intuitive guidance through the use of several different tools, including pendulums, tarot cards, and oracle cards. And when it comes to the psychic mediumship and the angel communications, those are usually more intuitive. I don't usually tune into the tools to do that. So if you'd like to learn more about that, again, visit my website at guidingechoes.com, and you can also visit that same website if you're interested in scheduling a one-on-one session with me. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.